Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you are well. I hope that you can hear me properly also. So we are live for part two or the second part of Tagpros webinar workshop series for June, and we are so happy to have you back here. If you remember, we started our Tagpros webinar workshop series last week. So we started with our first session where we invited Mr. John Paul Viernes and talk about Bonsi and social emotional learning and of course creativity in the classroom, and Mr. Luis Pelea, who taught us how to use music to help students learn better in our classes, whether it's face to face or virtual or online. So today, let me just introduce myself before we get the ball rolling. I am Francis Jim Toscano, or I am Jim Toscano, and I am your host today. I am one of the co-founders of Tagpros Education and also Chief Program Officer of said company. So what is Tagpros Education? I hope that you are able to watch our introductory video, but Tagpros Education is a non-profit. Number one, it's we have Tagpros for Children. It's our non-profit arm, which has the goal to help students and teachers at this time of the pandemic, especially with online learning. We hope to offer, right now, we're offering free professional development for our teachers, especially in the Philippines. We also aim to partner with different organizations to help students learn non-academic aspect of education in terms of music and sports or whatever category that you can think of that are non-academic by nature. Also, Tagpros is a for-profit startup company. If you've noticed in the video, we are promoting what we call as the Tagpros Education Marketplace. Tagpros Education Marketplace is where students can learn um, courses or workshops that we have been creating with our pioneers. So right now we have our pioneers, our speakers also for the webinar workshop series, and they are partnering with us and creating fun and engaging workshops and courses for K to 12 students. So if you are a parent or a teacher out there, please know that Tagpros Education will be launching. We will be launching our Tagpros Education Marketplace. And as we continue to prepare for the launch of the Tagpros Education Marketplace, we also want to partner with our dear teachers in the Philippines or Filipino teachers. We will be announcing later on our partnership program so that we empower teachers and also help teachers earn extra money by monetizing your own courses and workshop in our platform. So that's Tagpros for Education. And of course, the June webinar series is entitled Advancing Better Online Distance Learning Webinar Workshop Series on Effective Strategies and Approaches in Online Distance Learning. And this event is made possible by our partner institutions or organization. And we start with thanking our partner, the Department of Education International Cooperation Office, under the leadership of Director Margarita Consolacion Ballesteros. She is partnering with us because she believes in our goal and she shares in our goal of elevating the quality of Filipino education system in the country. Of course, one of the leading telecommunication company in the Philippines. We are proud to partner with Globe Telecommunications. And of course, we know that you're very excited. They are giving us some GCash prizes to be won today and the succeeding Saturdays of June. We will be announcing later on also our winners, the Lucky Seven from June 5, 2021 webinar session. All right. Of course, we also partnered with Teacher Education Network Philippines under the management of Mr. Gino Luwayon. So 10PH or Teacher Education Network is a community, a professional learning community of teachers who also share in our vision of elevating the quality of the teaching profession. and they are on Facebook also. So if you have your social media accounts right now, go to Facebook and look for Teacher Education Network and give them a follow or be a member of 10PH. And lastly, of course, we are partnering also with Next Series. Next Series is an advocacy program of the Computer Education Department of Xavier School, San Juan, and they will be also our partner teachers, and at the same time offering professional development sessions for teachers in the coming months. All right, so that's the team behind Tagpros Education. And for today, we are very much happy to greet everyone. Happy Independence Day. Maligayang araw ng kasarinlan. So it's the Independence Day in the Philippines, and we're very much happy to celebrate with our dear teachers and our education sector as we look back and celebrate to our independence or freedom day. So there, what else do we need to talk about? Of course, we need to welcome. For today, we will be welcoming a new set of speaker, Miss Lea Abarentos, and of course, Miss Joyce Zerda. Today, we're looking at the theme of women in STEAM. STEAM means science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So it's an interdisciplinary way of looking at innovation through the said disciplines. So Women on STEAM Saturday, that's how we want to call it. And we're very much excited for you to learn from them. Before we proceed, let's just say hi to our participants. Patrick Pama says, Mabuhay! Maligayang karawan ng kasarinlan sa lahat, especially to our modern heroes. Actually, our teachers are modern heroes, so we're part of that, of those modern heroes right now. Especially at this time of the pandemic, you are all part of the frontliners, and we're so happy that you are with us. And we're also looking at different participants coming from up north until south of the Philippines. And let's see if we have international audience also. Last week, we had some international audience coming in and saying hi and taking part in our live webinar workshop today. All right, so before we start, let me call on one of my co-founders, Mr. Joe Garde, as he delivers. He has a video message to us. He is our Chief Marketing Officer, one of the people behind this event, and he will be sharing his message to us. Let's give him a virtual round of applause.
My name is Joe Garde, and I'm the co-founder and Chief Marketing Officer of Tagpros Education. And I would like to welcome everyone to the Tagpros Teacher Webinar Series. The pandemic has a profound and lasting effect on the education system, and most significantly, among the younger K-12 student population. Ready or not, schools, teachers, parents, and students had to shift to distance learning as the country moved to a drastic and prolonged lockdown, which continued to alter our lives until today. Distance learning has been an enormous challenge, from connectivity issues, limited digital materials for children, stressed parents and students dealing with multiple distractions, limited social interactions, and Zoom fatigue. The choice was to adapt or fall behind. We saw this as an opportunity to apply digital technology to make distance learning more convenient, engaging, and fun for both teachers and students. This is why we created Tagpros, a passion-based digital after-school learning community for K-12 teachers and students. Our idea is simple: to create an innovative digital learning community where teachers are empowered to monetize their passions, where students are encouraged to explore their interests, where parents are assured of a safe and curated digital platform, all in a convenient and efficient ecosystem wherein one can simply search, click, and learn. We're all very thrilled to welcome you, our dear teachers, to your continuing learning journey into the new and exciting world of digital distance learning with Tagpros, where passion takes the lead. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Joe, for your valuable insight, and thank you for introducing what our vision as a company also. So, one of another important person who will be sharing her message to us is Director Margarita Consolacion Ballesteros. She is the director. She's the leader of the Department of Education International Cooperation Office, and she's here with us through a video message that we want to share with everyone.
Space, another avenue where you get to learn and you get to meet not only experts but also friends who are in the same boat or in the same vessel as we weather the same storms in life during this time of the pandemic. Weathering the storms in the same vessel, I mean, we are all faced with the challenges brought about by this COVID-19. But as teachers, we are stronger, you are stronger, and you have shown that even after a year, you did your best. And I congratulate you for that. And I also thank you for doing your best and giving your best in whatever circumstances you were for the past year and where you are now this year. The webinars that you will be involved in and you will be embarking on will only be part and parcel of your retooling exercises, but they are meant to help you develop into a better teacher. In as much as we say we don't have enough and we can't have enough, but I would say you have more than enough because we have people, we have the resources that have been provided and are being provided still at this point in time. So as teachers, we encourage you to give your best as you get to be retooled, you get to be honed, and you get to develop more of your skills. You always have to bear in mind that the currency of this century and beyond, where the alpha generation is now, is actually your competency. When we say you are competent to deliver online learning, you are competent to navigate with technology, that only means that you don't like to be left behind. Who would like to be left behind? Of course, there's none. Learning is lifelong. And when we say lifelong learning goes on and on until we say it's my last breath, then you would say, yes, I did my best. So keep learning, guys, and I would encourage you to really keep going. Not COVID-19, not any disruption can stop a teacher who's got a heart, a teacher who is passionate in doing a number of things, making sure that the learning environment, the learning spaces of this future generation, our next leaders, are prepared and are well equipped. So to Jim Toscano and to his team, thank you for partnering with the Department of Education's International Cooperation Office in hosting and in developing programs for our teachers through these webinars. And I'd like to thank you because you're offering this for free. And also to our teachers, keep going, for life is beautiful and is made more beautiful each day, because each day we receive the gift of life, and that gift of life is meant to be shared for you and for me, to be shared to our teachers, co-teachers, our colleagues, to our learners who we are helping to become better citizens, better global citizens, as well as to our parents who are the supporters of the education of these children. So to all of you, again, good luck and keep learning.
All right. Thank you, Director Ballesteros, for that wonderful message. And as she said, We're very much happy to welcome everyone. This is a way for us to model lifelong learning. We tell our students as educators, we tell our students that they need to continue learning because if they stop learning, that means they're old. As teachers, we don't want to be branded as old. So we don't stop learning. And of course, we owe it to ourselves and to our students, the future of of the country or the future generations as well, that we keep on honing our skills. We keep on practicing what we know and do, because if we don't want the technology would replace us, we keep ourselves updated and we learn new skills so that we continue to become relevant, not just as teachers, but also as members of our society. All right. So I know that you're very much excited. We are also as excited as you are. Right now, we will announce the first set of winners from um, last week's session. So for June 5 session, we were able to pick 7 lucky participants who will be winning 500 GCash credits from our partner Globe Telecommunications. So I think we're ready to show. Well, the wait is over right now, and let me call on my team to show 7 winners, the 7 lucky winners. All right, so let me. That's you will now be able to see it on the screen. 500 GCash raffle winners, courtesy of Globe. Let me just make it bigger also. Ryan F. Borse. I hope I pronounce it properly. If not, I apologize. But you are a winner. So Pantaleon M. Just make it bigger so that everyone could read it. Pantaleon M. Cadalinia. Alyssa Fe R. Valdez. Could you give us a comment if you are the winner or if you know them? Jacqueline A. Benito. Elaine T. Arcangel. Angeli B. Tamayen, and Marilyn G.K. Ramos. All right. So if you know these people, please tell them, or maybe if you're watching us right now, reach out to us. But again, Tagpros Education will get in contact with you. We'll be contacting you for verification purposes and, of course, details on how to receive your GCash prize. Again, courtesy of our partner Globe Telecom, we are giving away 500 GCash credits in every session. So for this session, we'll be giving away another set of 7 GCash, 500 GCash credits. But again, let me just repeat. For session 1 held on June 5, 2021, these are our winners: Ryan F. Borse, Pantaleon M. Cadalinia, Alyssa Fe R. Valdez, Jacqueline A. Benito, Elaine T. Arcangel, Angeli P. Tamayen, and Marilyn G. K. Ramos. So if you are one of them or if you are friends with them, please make sure that you wait. Tagpros Education, we will be in contact with you for verification and details on how to receive the GCash prizes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. So you will still have a chance to win for today, because we'll be giving out 7 GCash, 500 GCash prizes to 7 lucky participants. So how are you going to win again? Simple instruction. Number 1, watch the webinar workshop, which is what's happening right now. Complete the evaluation form at the end of each session. Okay, we know that some of you might feel like, we don't want to take part in this, so I will not just put GCash in there. You need to put your GCash if you want to be part of the raffle draw. And of course, if you're just after the certificate, let me just tell you that certificate will come in later within this month, because we're processing them. We have a lot of participants, but you're already filling in the evaluation form. So what we're asking you right now is, it's just as easy as 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, do, re, mi. create your GCash account right now, because it's the best way for us to send, or to for you even to send money to your relatives or friends. So make sure that when you fill in the evaluation form, to be shown later. So mamaya pa, later pa. So while watching, why not create your GCash account already? So GCash account is needed for you to be part of the raffle draw. All right? So that's the second step. Complete the evaluation form at the end of the session. And number three, even the winners, we will be asking you if you have already followed our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. All right? So that's part of it. You will be asked to do everything else so that you'll be part our of our of our raffle draw. Raffle winners will be announced in next week's webinar. So sorry for that. That should be June 19, 2021. All right. So that's how we will be giving out 500 GCash to 7 lucky participants. And we hope that you are able to participate. Sayang, you're already with us. So why not, of course, why not take advantage of it? Again, only GCash account holders are allowed to participate. So don't forget to download the GCash app, available at Google Play and Apple Store, and create your GCash account today. This raffle draw is made possible by GCash and Globe Telecommunications, the country's leading telecommunications provider. All right, before we jump into our sessions, I know that you're excited. I am as excited as you as well. I just need to make some announcements. A lot of you are asking, where are your certificates? All right, we posted an advisory a couple of days ago. We're processing the certificates, and we have loads of certificates to create. That is not a reason for us not to send you, but you will be receiving your certificates within the month. All right. So if you want to know more about updates on the certificates and everything, make sure that you follow our Tagpros Facebook account, because we have been announcing details. But we will be starting already with the distribution of the certificates. All right. And one more thing, please don't post your cell phone number or GCash accounts in our comment section. Privacy details, personal details, please don't post them for security purposes. All right. So don't post anything there. Don't post anything there. We won't be seeing. We won't be using it also. All right. So you just need to be careful. All right. So don't post there. We will ask them through the evaluation form. Okay. So I think that's clear. I think we're very much excited. We're very ready to start our session. So for today, we have Miss Lea Abarentos and Miss Joyce Zerda as our speakers today. Both are women leaders in their school. They're Apple Distinguished Educators also. That means they have made their mark in their own respective education communities through the use of technology. This is an online distance learning session. So while you are here with us, some of you might be asking, Sir, we don't have internet. Sir, we don't have access to the device. Don't worry, because this online distance learning is not just meant for you. It's not meant for you to apply immediately, right? If you have access, go on. Apply them immediately, learn from them. But if you are part of a community where access is really a big problem right now, we are still inviting you, we are still encouraging you to watch. Because in the end, we don't know. Maybe next year, in a couple of months, your community will have access already. All right? So keep an open mind. Suspend your judgment. Suspend your problems for now. Keep an open mind, because you will only be able to learn if you keep your mind open. Mamaya na nating isipin na wala tayong internet or whatever. All right? So mag-aral muna tayo. Let's familiarize ourselves first with what's happening right now, with what we need to do, because our speakers today will be, I know you will be, your minds will be blown, because they have very good, exciting topics. For example, Lea will talk about you know, using the idea of UI UX coding in teaching. I'm pretty sure not all of you have heard or maybe learned about coding, and you might be thinking, hindi naman kami, we're not computer science major or whatever. Well, news flash, everyone's learning about coding right now. So you will be learning something exciting from Leia. Later on, Joyce will be talking about her love for augmented reality, AR. So if you're if you're playing Pokemon Go, I'm playing Pokemon Go until now. I still play because I love Pokemon. Um, Leia will be teaching you how to use that, or maybe create your own AR assets for your education. So right, I think we are all very, very excited and we're ready to jump in. So keep an open mind, and make sure that you use your comment box to send in your insights and your comments. Let me just introduce to you, as I mentioned earlier, our webinar workshop today will explore how technology and teaching intersect. For our first speaker, she is an Apple Distinguished Educator and project manager for the Digital Technology Office and De La Salle College of St. Benilde here in Manila. Today, she'll be talking about teaching coding online using learning experience design strategies. And let's give it up for Miss Lea Abarentos.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I am here to share with you my insights in teaching coding online using learning experience design strategies. This is Lea Abarentos. I'm a UI and UX instructor. I'm a project manager from the Digital Technology Office of the De La Salle College of St. Benilde. And aside from my work as a project manager, I'm also a freelance LMS and web developer. So my goal for today is for me to be able to share with you my collective experience as a UX expert, as an educator, and as a developer as well. I'm looking forward to sharing with you, our dear educators, some inputs in designing your courses using learning experience design strategies to enhance student engagement and to achieve learning outcomes. So these are some of the things that I am going to showcase for this afternoon. First, what are some of the challenges of teaching coding online? I believe that some schools have canceled their specialized computer subjects to focus on other subjects during this pandemic. I will also showcase how I teach coding, especially in an online setting. And just for the information of everyone, I regularly teach persons with disabilities basics of web design and development in De La Salle College of St. Benilde. And I'm using learning experience design as my teaching methodology in teaching coding online. And with that, I'll be giving you an overview of what a learning experience design is. I will also be sharing with you how I combined LXD in teaching coding online. And lastly, I'll be sharing with you some techniques that you can consider in leveling up the engagement of your students, especially online. Okay? Now, let me start by sharing with you my long-term passion. It is teaching coding. So, why do I love doing it? I've been teaching coding for over 20 years. I started teaching coding in 1999, so that is about 2 decades already. I still find meaning and purpose in doing it. For me, teaching coding is both fulfilling and empowering. It is so fulfilling to see my students become creators and enablers. I just love to see my students create websites and apps for real world problems. My hope is that this passion of mine and this persistence of mine will drive my students to dream big and become future programmers, developers, and IT leaders someday. One of the many reasons why I believe that coding has to be taught is, of course, in this digital age, coding is already considered as a basic literacy and is one of the most critical skill or the most important skill of today? Okay, for me, our students should have at least some basic understanding of how to develop software. Because again, it is considered as the most important skill of today considering the evolution of jobs, modernization, and future proofing of organizations. Coding is also an emerging skill of the future. In a study conducted by one of the market research firms, there were about 26.4 million estimated software developers in the world as of 2019, and the number is expected to keep growing exponentially in the coming years, which is so much higher than any other jobs. Lastly, coding teaches us to think in different ways to solve real problems, to create new things, to recreate things that others have made, and to integrate them into our own creative processes. Even though many schools, companies, organizations, and individuals highlight how coding is accessible, engaging, fun, exciting, and teaches computational and critical thinking, we are still challenged with the delivery of coding subjects. These challenges increased significantly during the pandemic also. Now, let me discuss some of the challenges in teaching coding. The first challenge is the technicality of the subject. Programming languages are difficult to grasp due to the highly technical nature of the subject. Learning how to code requires time and persistence too. So learning how to teach coding and doesn't happen overnight. And due to the complexity of the programming language, it is time consuming and it takes a lot of practice also to learn a new language. The next challenge is the feeling of isolation. There's no doubt that online education has enabled students to work independently. Studying coding remotely may enhance the learner's concentration and grasping skills, but it is somehow taxing for them because there are fewer collaborative activities and socialization among learners, which could have been more engaging and exciting. Of course, face-to-face interaction will always be more personal and meaningful to some, but with the right technique, this can also be successful in an online setup. And also, in a face-to-face setting, the instructor can easily check or debug the codes of students right away. And it is more personal and instantly provided too. Well, I remember teaching coding in a face-to-face settings when I can move around and check instantly all the output of my students. But thanks to some real-time collaboration tool that reduces the isolation challenge. For instance, the live share of Microsoft Visual Studio Code enables students to quickly collaborate with classmates or professors on the same code without the need to sync the codes. The idea is that two people working together are more focused. They can come up with better ideas and fill in the gaps for each other. In fact, there have been studies that prove that two people working together increase productivity over working separately. Now, the third challenge is the expert's blind spot or the inability to perceive the difficulties of students. In teaching coding, you, instructors, should be able to put yourselves into the shoes of your students. So this widens the gap between the instructor and the learners in understanding the complexity of the language. Now, the key idea of teaching coding is to explain the complex concepts to a newbie or novice and let them absorb the ideas for some time. So, explaining in layman's terms programming concepts or using some analogies reduces the pressure on the students but also facilitates the unfolding of new ideas. The last challenge, giving instant feedback. In teaching coding, it is critical to provide swift and responsive feedback to students. Giving feedback on programming like how to write syntax, code construction, doing loops is fundamental to every student, but doing this online is another challenge. So students should be guided on how to use automatic feedback tools for errors and debugging activities. And what is good about programming tools is the availability of syntax highlighting and code editing tools to help the students troubleshoot syntactic problems. So to summarize, these are the challenges of our coding instructors. The lack of subject knowledge correlates with the lack of time, training, resources, and maybe support. While differentiation in assessment challenges can be addressed by providing the right teaching approaches. For me, the identified challenges can be solved by the right teaching approaches. For example, having enough resources and training for teachers, having hands-on experiences like collaborative work, pair programming, peer mentoring, and collaborations. Computational thinking can also be implemented like decomposition and more problem-solving activities, code manipulation, or relating to real-world activities and learning through examples. More practices and more engagement, and of course, using learning experience design. Now, the challenge is doing this online. To teach beginners, you need to consider the stuff you think is simple might be hard on their end. You have to worry about what order to teach, what skills you want the person to develop, and how you intend them to learn them. At the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is that those that take our courses walk away having learned something. So how I teach coding? This is my rule number 1. Don't just code. Okay, most programming classes rely primarily on code and run exercises. But to keep your learners engaged, you have to provide opportunities for them to practice their skills in a higher level of reasoning. And for me to be able to do that, I need to consider myself as a learning designer. Now, what's my take on this statement? Our functions as educators have evolved. Before, our role as a teacher is just to teach what we know and what we are good at. Well, I remember when I used to present my lessons way back in 1999 using a pentel pen and colored papers. So just imagine teaching D-Base and C using colored papers and pens. But in year 2002, it evolved to using an OHP and PowerPoint that with the combination of storytelling. Okay, teaching before is just you and your story and your content. Now, this new normal pushed us to evolve and to upskill ourselves to become better learning designers. So my goal for today is not only to promote learning, but I want to guide and help you transform your learning content to something interactive and compelling for us to level up the engagement of our students. So what is LXD? LXD is a product of user experience and instructional design. It's a process of designing and organizing your content in a platform to enhance student engagement. Okay, so LXD is a product of ID and UX, or a combination of instructional design and user experience. Instructional design is a process of providing a structure and meaning to your learning materials. While user experience, on the other hand, is the process of creating a product or service based on the attitude, needs, and task flow of users. So LXD is the application of UX design principles, usefulness, usability, and desirability to create engaging learning activities. So LXD is a fusion of best learning practices by combining theories of learning pedagogies and tools with empathy, innovation, and prototyping. For me, it's about thinking beyond the course content or the online course modules. It's about designing your courses. It's about designing your courses and creating meaningful learning experiences. one of my ultimate goals as an educator is to develop lifelong learners. These are students who are motivated to learn, who can make a significant difference in this world. They are not afraid to discover new things from many different perspectives and innovate within. And for me to be able to produce lifelong learners, then I need to share with them or to teach them or to have them experience an effective learning experience design for them to be engaged and for them to have a very meaningful learning experience. Of course, the best content in the world can be made less effective if it is not designed properly for the learner. There are a lot of models to guide you when it comes to creating a course structure that is proven to work. Some are more elaborate while others are straightforward. All of these models are designed with one goal in mind, making sure that the course accomplishes its objectives. And I'm using this framework or process. So it's LX or the LXD process, a process of LX design merged with design thinking principles with curriculum development and application of emerging technologies to help teachers tailor content to student behaviors and preferences. So we have 6 phases here. The phase 1 is about understanding the learners. The second is about obtaining insights and writing the objectives. The third is about selecting relevant content. The fourth phase is about developing the actual learning experience solution. Now, the fifth is about the actual delivery of the lesson. And the last one is the iteration. Now, let's move on to the first phase, which is the discover. Discovering is about understanding the learners and assessing their needs. You can actually implement user personas, okay, with this particular phase. Let me showcase some examples of user personas that I am using. Okay, let's have the first one. Okay, so the user persona here is Sonia. Sonia is considered as an intrepid explorer. She's 18 years old. Okay, and she's a marketing management student. Her pain points: she has high expectations but limited amount of money and lack of patience with poor UX. Now, in terms of technology behavior, it's perfect. Expectations is very high too. Adaptability is very high too. Now, opportunities, of course, okay, she can use a wide range of technology. Okay, she's very curious with the latest strategies in e-learning. Okay, she is exposed to a variety of content types, promotions, and discounts too. Okay, now the question is, how will you design a learning experience for Sonia? Sonia is considered as an intrepid explorer, someone who actively seeks learning opportunities. Perhaps what you can do is to make her enjoy trying out new platforms and solutions because she is never satisfied with status quo. Now let's have another example of a persona. The tricky pupil. Okay, so we have Hal. He's 22 in his maximum residency. Pain points, bad experiences with other platforms, resistant to new services and ways of learning. Learning, especially online, is not a priority for him. Now, the opportunities, he wants qualifications. He needs the value of courses, clearly illustrated. Classroom learning is of greater initial interest. And in terms of technology behavior, it's low. The expectation is average and the adaptability is low too. Now the question is, how are you going to create or design your learning experience for a tricky pupil? Now, a tricky pupil really doesn't want to do anything online. He's not motivated. Okay? He is not actually is not actively looking for a personal development opportunities too. And there should be a good reason to try out the platform and an excellent experience to stick around. However, if you can convince this type of students, they might just become one of your most engaged users. Now, let's move on to what I do in my classes. Okay, you can even ask my students. I'm really doing this every time or during the first week of class. I always start with a self introduction. This is a form of user research for me, or a user persona, or a profiling, wherein I ask my students to uh, I ask my users their profile, who they are, their interests, what they're good at, their expectations. Okay, it helps me to adjust my activities based on their profile, expectations, and interests. Okay, so that is the first phase. Now we move on to the second phase. The second phase is about defining or obtaining insights and writing the objectives and goals. When you write your objectives and goals, okay, of course, you have to go back to your course syllabus, course plan, or lesson plan. Okay? Then write your learning outcomes or the objectives based on the goal of the subject and the background of your users. Or a measurable learning plan should include activities that will answer the question, what will students be able to do? And for you to be able to determine the measurability of the outcome, it helps if you will ask yourself, how will I know that students have learned? Okay. Now, the third phase is about selecting relevant content or doing some curation. When you do this, when you are in this phase, you have to ensure that your content or the content that you'll be, and make sure that you are incorporating a variety of perspectives and resources. There are a lot of resources online that can assist your student, but how to choose the best resource to showcase is a challenge. But your basis will still depend on your goal and, of course, your target users. Prioritize your efforts and energy in knowing the must-have, okay, versus the nice-to-have content. Now, let's have the fourth one, the fourth phase, which is develop. It's about developing the learning experience solution. So, it's about considering a structured course plan like your timetables, your routines, deliverables, and programming activities. Okay. A clear and consistent organization will allow you and your students to focus more on learning the actual content of your course, not only from the beginning of the semester, but throughout the remainder of the course. The beginning information in a course, along with the course syllabus, are both areas where you can answer initial questions up front, prevent some questions from needing to be asked, and prevent other problems from coming up. So there is no foolproof, perfect way to put a course together, but there are a lot of things that you can do that will make it easier for everyone involved and make it more enjoyable. So when you organize your course content, okay, make sure that you are going to organize your course content based on how the learners will consume the information. Okay? So make sure that you are using clear and consistent navigation tool. Like for us in our school, okay, we're trained to include module 0. Okay, and in that module 0, you should have posted in communication policies, the requirements, information on where to get assistance, information on accessibility of course technology, and other resources. Now, let me share with you an example course structure that I'm using in class. Okay, so if you will look at my example here, Okay, I'm showcasing a sequential process from review to evaluate. Okay, the other areas of my course structure in between review and evaluate, I have there the activate, present, and apply. Okay, so I'll be discussing this further in the delivery phase. Okay, now let's move on to the fifth phase, deliver. Deliver is about the actual implementation of your learning design. Okay. It is divided into 6 or 5 stages. Okay. So let me start with the first stage that I'm using. I always start with an emotional buy-in. Okay, or the activate stage or the motivation stage. So emotional buy-in is the first step in laying the foundation of learning retention. So this can be done by telling a story or asking thought-provoking questions. So it begins with attention or getting the interest of your user in a form of motivation that enhances cognitive processing. So other examples of motivation or motivational activities are, we can have quizzes, we can have games, or you can start with a challenging statement or even a storytelling. In my particular example here, I have here an activity, a motivational activity for my week 2 about how are you feeling. Okay, so I ask my students, how are they feeling? Okay, what are the things that they want to learn, and of course the steps for them to be able to learn or to achieve their objectives in learning the topic. Okay, now let's move on to the next stage about, or phase. It's about present. Okay, the present is the step when the teacher introduces new information. Then the teacher guides the presentation, but there may be students' input or interactions too. Okay. Teachers do more than present content during this episode. Okay. Teacher helps students actively process the content and assemble information into big ideas and important details. Now, okay, let's move on to the next stage. Okay, this is a step when the students or when the teacher consolidate learning. So the purpose of this reinforcement or reinforced activity is to deepen learning. Teachers engage students in strategic practice to help them solidify understanding of key content and increase their mastery of new skills. As for my example, this is not yet the final task. I just asked my student to create a simple HTML page without any background. Just create a simple HTML page using the basic tags. Okay. So again, this is not yet a final task, but a simple activity to test their acquired knowledge from the presentation. Now, apply is the second to the last stage. This is the step when the teacher extends learning by applying through demonstration. So this is when the learners further consolidate and extend learning by applying it through a problem-based learning or other authentic assessments. So in this particular stage, the teachers have to challenge students to demonstrate, synthesize, and transfer their learning. Okay, I always use PBL, or a teaching method in which complex real-world problems are used as a tool to promote student learning of concepts and principles. So it can be in the form of hands-on learning, design challenges, case studies, and the use of collaborative or paired drill activities. So in my particular example here, I provide varied and meaningful activities that prepare my students to accept and meet challenges in the real world, and these challenges engages them deeply with the topic. Now, the last stage is about evaluation. So this is the step when teachers help students look back on, learn from, and celebrate their learning. Um, the learning process, of course, should be evaluated in a form of reflection or asking the students their key takeaways. Like in this particular example, I ask my students to post their key takeaways and their moving forward plans too. Okay. Now we move on to the last stage. Okay. It's the iteration. So iteration, of course, offers new opportunity for an improved learning experience. So what you need to do with iteration is that, okay, remember that the LXD process is cyclical in nature. So make sure that you put together or you put together your design to a test, okay, with a group of learners and fearlessly document the failures and successes of your course design. Okay, now let's move on to the tips and tricks or how to implement a successful coding class. Okay, the first tip is, of course, to set a dedicated consultation hours. So make sure that you will have a dedicated schedule hours where students can drop into a video call or ask you questions, whether it's through Zoom, Google Meet, or Microsoft Teams. So use standard communication tools also like your learning management system, email, or discussion forums, and make sure to ask your students to enable notification features too. You can also set clear expectations also to your students on how they can contact you and what's your availability or response time. Now, the next tip is about feedback. Providing timely and useful feedback is necessary to keep the students on track even online. So this impacts the students' interest in learning the next topic. And when you give feedback, please do not just simply add a mark that says good job or excellent. Make sure that it is personalized and meaningful. The feedback that is detailed and positive in nature tends to be more effective. It creates a clear picture and increases transparency too. It helps your students gain new knowledge, or it helps them avoid repetitive mistakes, and it helps them learn new skills and get better results. Now the next tip is for you to provide step-by-step instructions or tutorials. Okay, for me this is very effective, especially in my coding classes. Okay, tutorials are very effective in explaining to a user how to carry out a specific or identified task, especially in an online coding class. So in my example here, I already have a pre-recorded lessons from weeks 1 to 14. So if in case my students will miss any of the lessons, then all they need to do is just to refer to the video guides. Now, the next step is about working collaboratively. Okay, it's about allowing your students to work with their friends with whom they can learn or enjoy programming with. You can actually assign this or let them choose their own programming buddies or groups. Pair or peer programming software can be utilized in this kind of setup too. So I believe that two heads are better than one, or two or more heads are better than one. So having a study buddy can make learning easier and more fun too. Okay? For me, this one is working. Okay, writing daily takeaways. Okay, so this daily journaling is also effective, especially nowadays. Okay, it is about having the students fill out a daily reflection about what they are struggling with via Google Form or any forms of other technology for you to review and respond and reach out to your students who need help. You can also try this one. Okay, so include self-assessment opportunities in your learning design. So this will allow your students to take more responsibility for their own learning. And grading their own output is motivating and sometimes a very humbling experience for them. Okay. The next tip is about guaranteeing your students that the course materials will not be creating barriers or making sure that your course components can be viewed on all types of devices. So, improving the course accessibility for all by taking minor steps towards accessibility improvement of your course materials should be considered. And lastly, try to incorporate gamification in your courses or establish a reward system to recognize the achievements and simple wins of your students in class. Remember that simple badges and certificates encourage engagement. Now, let me end my session by sharing this video from the late Sir Ken Robinson.
Education and our lives as human beings are not linear. That's an industrial idea, that you start there and you get there. Our lives, if they're anything, are cyclical and kind of recursive. That there are moments of growth, there are seasons of personal growth and development and seasons that are fallow. And it's not over until it's actually over. And that, the very old, like the very young, still have enormous amounts to find out about themselves if the conditions are right. And I feel it's the great role of a teacher. When I was saying moving to a different metaphor, an organic metaphor, I think it's going from an industrial metaphor to back to an agricultural one. Because if you think of it, a great gardener, great farmer, depends upon plants growing under their care. Otherwise, they're out of business. But the irony is that every farmer and gardener knows that you cannot make a plant grow. You cannot do that. You don't stick the roots on and paint the petals and attach the leaves. The plant grows itself. What you do is provide the conditions for growth. And great farmers know what the conditions are and bad ones don't. Great teachers know what the conditions of growth are and bad ones don't. And with bad teaching, all this potential of students shrivels in the face of it. With great teaching, all this stuff starts to flourish and to flower. And that, to me, is the great gift of teaching, to recognize that growth is possible at any time. Like in Death Valley, in the most deathless place on earth, there's life there, if you know what the conditions are. And the great challenge for teaching, I think, is not just to know your discipline, but to know your students, and to know what the pedagogical ratio is that will make them flourish and become the best thing they can be. And I think that it's not just something for the young, and increasingly it's something that we should see as intergenerational, rather than just something that happens at the beginning of our lives. It should endure throughout the whole of it. Thank you.
As Sir Ken Robinson quoted, "We have the power and duty to create the best conditions for students to flourish. Let's take advantage of that power and take these challenges as opportunities for us to design better learning experiences for our students. Let's reflect on the current learning designs that we have. Let's review, let's revisit, let's evaluate, iterate, and transform. Just as our world and our students are always changing, so must our designs for learning." Okay, so that would be all. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation. I just have one last request for you to share your key takeaways by scanning the QR code on the screen and answer the question, how might we make online learning be a compelling learning experience for our students? So again, this is Lea Abarentos. Thank you very much and good day.
All right. I am honestly mind blown. That was very, very interesting. And I just want to share some thoughts from the comments saying that, Lea's presentation. Number one, very visually appealing and engaging. I love the slides. Lea, thank you so much for that, for showing us that we can actually deliver great sessions by using amazing slides. But more particularly, I am mind blown with the idea that coding and design principles could be used to improve the learning experience of every student, not just in the classroom, but even in online learning, which we are doing right now. So thank you, Lea. Lea will be with us during the open forum after our last speaker, and she will be answering your questions. But for now, our team behind, backstage are working on every comment and looking at every comment that you have right now. So may we please invite you to share your comments, share your insights, and even questions to Lea, so that later on she will be able to answer them as we have our open forum. Also, there's one reminder. Some of you are asking about about certificates. Number one, certificates are given if you attend one session, or every session, you will receive 4 certificates, and they will be given within this month. Within this month means anytime until the end of June, especially because we are processing all the necessary information for for the giving of certificates. All right, and of course, before we jump into to Joyce Zerda, our speaker, next speaker, we just want to say again our or express our gratitude to the Department of Education International Cooperation Office under the leadership of Director Margarita Consolacion Ballesteros, Globe Telecommunications, the leading telecommunication company in the Philippines, Teacher Education Network Philippines, a professional learning community meant to bridge and to form a community of teachers who share their learning and experiences. And of course, next series, and the advocacy platform of the Computer Education Department of Xavier School, San Juan. All right, so I hope that you are still with us, and we're very much happy also that you are still participating. Thank you. We're looking at your comments, and we love to hear your thoughts and your comments also, so that we'll be able to interact with Lea later on. All right, on to our next session, or next speaker.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome
Our next
to Tagpros
speaker
Education.
Our next speaker is Joyce Zerda. Joyce Zerda is an Apple Distinguished Educator, and she is an administrator at MZED School in Cebu City. So all the way from Cebu, she is with us, and she will be sharing her expertise on intersecting or merging arts and augmented reality. So let's welcome Joyce Zerda.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Tagpros Education. This afternoon, I have the pleasure of being one of your presenters for the Women of STEAM. My workshop will be about augmented reality. My name is Joyce Zerda, and I am an assistant administrator of MZED Christian School in Cebu City. I am also the music and arts coordinator of our school. I have been using augmented reality in the classroom for years, and now that we are on lockdown and everybody is learning remotely, I see the value of augmented reality even as our learners are at home. For those of you that are not familiar, augmented reality is an enhanced version of the real physical world. It is achieved through the use of digital visual, auditory, and sensory stimuli that can be delivered through technology. And these technologies can be the use of an iPad or the use of a mobile device. Augmented reality is very common. It is widely used in many of our social media apps, like filters. So if you're the type to like to change the color of your hair or to enhance your facial features, or maybe play around with the dancing Shrek through your camera, These are simple examples of augmented reality. In today's workshop, the goal will be how to create or render your own augmented reality experience with a favorite app of mine that is called iJack. So if you would like to later on see some of these images that I've created in my class, you can download the app. I'll put a picture right here. That's how it looks like on the Play Store or the App Store. You could also download it directly from the website, ijackapp.com. Later on, I will also be showing you how you can recreate what I've done in my class through the iJack Creator. And that's just as simple as downloading the program onto your desktop and bringing in assets. It's going to be really exciting. I would like to talk about some of the reasons why I believe AR plays a very important role in and out of the classroom. Number one, AR helps explain abstract and difficult concepts. Now, let's talk about coronavirus. Many of the young learners don't really understand how a virus can make somebody sick or what it actually looks like. AR can show the learners what a virus looks like and how it floats around in an environment and what components of a virus can make somebody sick. So now the learner not only understands it, but also can see it and visually absorb the information of how this virus works. Now, the body is a very amazing creation of God. But how our body works can be quite difficult to comprehend. AR can bring the heart into the classroom by using different applications to show you how a heart beats. This is why now learners don't only get to read about it, they don't only get to see videos about it, they actually get to move the heart around and they get to interact with it. That's the power of augmented reality. The second reason is it enhances engagement and interaction. Augmented reality inside the classrooms allows students to ask each other and describe to each other what they're experiencing. But how you ask? Do I increase engagement and interaction now that all my learners are working from home? Well, if you are able to jump on a call with your students and use an AR experience, showing them what it's like to interact with, let's say, underwater or outer space, you can allow them to describe what your set experience, and then they get to interact and engage with each other. You could also ask another learner to jump on that AR experience and take their class around. The next is it amplifies discovery. Discovery is a very important tool of experiential learning. Not only will they be able to discover how things work, they will also be able to discover skills that they thought they never had or were not able to hone. So I am an art teacher. And when I used to teach art face-to-face, we would create animations on top of our artwork that we render into AR experiences. I'm not much of an artist, but because of the process of seeing the artworks come to life, I am challenged to push my artistic abilities, not just in drawing, but even in animating, using PowerPoint or keynote presentations, and just seeing how I am able to take a simple drawing and bring it to life with AR. And I've seen how it also impacted my learners in the class and how they were eager to learn how to draw and eager to learn how to animate because of what AR was offering them in the end. Lastly, it's a very good tool to teach object modeling. Now, there's this app called GeoGebra, which I'll talk about later on. And it's an app that helps teach geometric shapes and concepts. by seeing 3D images of specific models created or examined through different applications. Allow me to walk you through some of my favorite apps that are not only useful for teaching art, but other subjects as well. I only have one requirement when I talk about apps, and that these apps should be free apps. Good news, right? Our first app is called GeoGebra. GeoGebra 3D to be specific. If you're familiar with the GeoGebra app already, it's an app that helps teach math, geometry, and make it simple to learn. But with GeoGebra 3D, you are able to look at how shapes are created by using formulas. Now, not only can you type in a formula and see how the shapes are made, you are also able to recreate specific shapes with the GeoGebra calculator that can be found on any web browser. So the video that I'm showing you on the screen currently is of a math teacher, I would like to assume, who is asking his students to recreate the image of a cup using a specific formula. Now, he's creating it simply on a web browser. He will later on export that and then render it so that the students can now see how their shapes were created, and how it looks like in the GeoGebra 3D app. So the nice thing is, if you are in the classroom, you can see if your shape matches the one that is actual that has been actually used by the teacher. But if you are also not in the classroom, the teacher can take what they've created and then export it into their own app and see, oh yeah, you've created the exact same replica of what I'm requesting. So that's really neat. It's not just creating shapes, but creating meaningful shapes that also teach new concepts or test concepts. The next app is something that's been around for quite a while. It's called JigSpace. So if you're familiar with JigSpace, you kind of know what it's about. But for those that are not familiar with JigSpace, it is a free app that you can download off of the Play Store or the App Store. And it comes with hundreds of jigs, which they call examples. And these jigs are examples of how things work. Like, for example, how a machine works. Like, it can show you the actual underwater. It can show you outer space. It can show you different periods of history, I think. It also can show you different parts of the body, like the layers of the ear, the layers of the eye, or show you how a brain is like when it's extremely exhausted. We can relate to that. Lastly, it can show students how to assemble simple things like a doorknob or a chair. There are so many different examples that you could use for teaching, not just science, but if you're creative, you'll be able to apply it in other subjects as well. Now, the next app is one of my personal favorites, and it's called Home Court. This is a basketball app. Okay, so if you're a basketball player, you'll find this app really, really helpful for your drill exercises and your shooting exercises. And all it uses is the front-facing camera, and it helps you review your actions and shows you the alignment of your, let's say, your free throws or your 3-point shoots. I'm not a basketball player, so I'm not sure if that's the same thing. Maybe not. Hopefully not. And I got it right. Okay, but anyway, if you're not a basketball player, there are also exercises and drills that you could try out that don't need the function of a real basketball or the basketball court. You could also do challenges and drills and join leaderboards. So it's not inclusive to basketball alone. They also recently came up with this new app called Active Arcade, and it's essentially home court without the basketball features. It does practically the same thing, and it's free right now. You can download it on the App Store. So Home Court. Home Court is basically an app that you can use for teens. But what about our younger learners? They need to exercise too, right? There is an AR app for that, and it's called Go Noodle. It has more color, it has more childish and kiddie like animations where the students can interact with cartoon characters or colorful soccer balls that they try to block from the goals. Both of these apps are helpful for letting the kids move while they're at home. And you could also use this as you could use the videos that will be rendered afterwards that they can save as proof that they've actually done it. So it's like a performance task done at home, video performance task that doesn't need a lot of editing. It's just something that they can do, they can save, they can send. The next app, this is a fun one. It's called ScavengeGar. It's an app that allows you to create a scavenger hunt and ask your students to take them from the comforts of their own home. But if you're not one to create the scavenger hunt, you can use the pre-made scavenger hunts that were created by other teachers or by the app developers. So the nice thing about ScavengeGar is it uses the environment that the students are already in. So it could be their homes, it could be outdoor, like let's say they go to the beach and they take your scavenger hunt. You can create your own space. You can also make it a quiz by asking multiple choice questions that they get to choose. This was really created with educators in mind. There is a ScavengeGar Edu app also that you can go and check out. It can get tasking to create the playground, but I tell you, it's worth it when you get to see the reactions of your learners. One of my favorite aspect of ScavengeGar is they've updated this last year is a community board where your learners can drop a GIF and they can just drop a GIF and somebody who comes in the playground later on can see what somebody left behind. So it's kind of like a public message board that they get to see while they're in the playground. It's really, really cool. Now, it's not about knowing so many AR apps. It's about finding the right AR app for you and your learners. And that's where iJack plays an important role for me in my classroom and in my subject. Now, earlier, I talked about how I was able to encourage my students to draw better because we were creating AR experiences off of their physical drawings. I would like to show you these drawings and I'd like to show you how they were able to create some of their works. iJack is basically an AR viewer. The app allows you to scan images and triggers the AR that is overlaid on each image. If you go on the website, you can easily use the app that you've downloaded. If you downloaded it earlier, scan the QR codes and then look at the specific image that it's related to, and you will see how it brings life into the images. So over here, you will see some of the images, some of the drawings that my students have made. And right beside it will be a QR code that I've used to allow you to render or to see the AR animation on top of it. So what we are going to do is we are going to open the iJack app. Now, if you've downloaded the iJack app earlier, you can also check out and scan the screen. I'll be putting the code and the picture right here so you can scan the screen and see the image for yourself and experience it. But I'll also be walking you through it. So I'm right now opening the iJack app and you can see what the iJack app looks like. You would want to tap on the icon on the lower left hand side, which it looks like a thumbprint, which opens up the camera. After opening the camera, you can now scan the code and then you will see that there's a loading sign. Again, I just want to make sure that this is clear. It will only be able to download the images if you are connected to the internet. So if you're not, unfortunately, you will not be able to see the animation. After this, you can now scan and simply point your camera or point the AR app towards the image that you would like to see the animations of. So I'm going to do it right now. There. As you can see also here an example, a clear example on my phone of what it looks like when I scan the image. Now the image will actually stick onto the animation actually sticks onto the art. So if there's a specific angle that it can't anymore identify the artwork, the image will stop. But it will follow along even if you move your device. And if you move closer, you'll get to see a closer representation as well of the animations. So let's try it with another piece of art. And here is an example. If you've downloaded the app, go ahead and scan the QR code and then scan the image. I'll let it stay for a while. But while I'm explaining this to you, I just want to give you a little background of how this was created. Again, like I said earlier, each student just drew on a piece of paper. We scanned their artwork and we imported the image of the artwork into a Keynote, which is an equivalent to PowerPoint. They drew on top of their images and we rendered each of those image we rendered the animation. So we're actually animating through Keynote. Hopefully you have the app. You can now scan them and experience the artwork come to life. How did you find that experience? I hope you enjoyed it. It's a very simple way of incorporating augmented reality into art. But we're not going to end there. I'm now going to show you how we can create this augmented reality experience through the iJack Creator. Now, iJack is a program that helps you create the augmented reality experience on top of your images. And it's very simple. All you can do is download the iJack Creator app on your desktop or your computer. So it does not work on an iPad or it doesn't work on a tablet or a mobile device. You definitely need to download iJack Creator onto a computer. So the first thing to do is to go to their website, which is ijackapp.com. And on the menu, you will find Creator. Click on that. It'll take you to the page where you can download the program. Once you've downloaded the program, open the program, and then you will need to sign in by creating an account. If you are already an iJack user, you might already have an account, so you could just use that specific account. Now, iJack Creator has different plans. It used to be free, to be honest. But right now, they have a free plan that allows you to upload up to 100 artworks. So make the most out of your 100 artworks. So now let's make our very own AR experience. Okay, so the first thing you need is your trigger image, which will be a picture, something that you either drew or an image that you found online. Or it could be actually a picture of yourself or people, things. It doesn't matter. It's just, you just need an image that is saved in a JPEG or PNG file format. The second thing you will need is a GIF. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but GIF. Allow me to say that. It could be an animation. So it's basically, those ones that you find on Facebook Messenger and you can share it with your friends. Those are GIFs, if you're not familiar. I'm pretty sure all of us are familiar with GIFs. We overuse them in our chat box. But you need to save them on your computer as well. The third thing you need, and this is optional, would be your audio. Now, it could be an audio that you recorded or something you downloaded that will enhance your AR experience. Okay, now that I have all the assets ready, you can see here all the assets are ready. You can simply click on create a new artwork. First step is to drag in the image. And you will know that it is not in the right format because it will prompt and it'll tell you that you need to export it in the correct format. Sometimes changing the address or the format link at the end from caps to small letters works. Sometimes, but it doesn't happen all the time. If not, you have to find a way to re-export them into the correct format. After dropping in the artwork, click on next and drag in the animation. It can be a GIF or a PNG sequence. If you are a Canva user, you can actually render GIFs and PNG sequences from Canva plugin. Okay. From the animation step, you can also add your sound. So I'm going to add my sound. Okay, great. So now that I have all my assets in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to label my trigger image. Okay, then I will create this. And it will render a QR code. So why will it render a QR code? Just like what we saw earlier with the pictures that we posted or that I showed you, we need to scan the QR code first so that it will load into iJack, the app, and it'll identify the overlay of the trigger image. Okay, just a piece of advice. If you are rendering a lot of images, and you need to make a library of all of these things, I would suggest that you name each GIF, each animation, each trigger image, and each QR code, save them under the same name so you will not interchange them later on, because it will be very difficult to discover or to identify which QR code belongs to a specific trigger image. Again, that's so important because learn from experience. I'm just saying. We can now test it by going back to our mobile device and opening iJack again. And then we go now to this. So I have here the QR code which I'm scanning, and now I go to my image. So I'll put the image and the code on the screen so you can try it out for yourself. So iJack recently rolled out a new feature called panels. And this is very helpful for educators because now you can create an information board alongside an animation. So I'm going to go on the website. You can check this out for yourself, but let's do it together as well. You can simply go on to their website and view panels. Okay. So right now, this is an example of what panels is like in real time. So you can scan the code from wherever you are and see their example of a humpback whale, and it gives the information and the sound. But we're going to experience it right now. Let's jump into iJack and scan their code, which will now ask me to check launch AR. Okay, so now you get to see the whale and hear the whale. Okay. So that's the sound. Now, panels is a feature where you can add now AR panels and also use them as information boards. So we have here the parts of the whale, we have the migration map, we have on top there the audio recording of the sound that they make, which we never get to hear. And then we have also the introduction, information about the whale. So this might be something that you're looking for, and go ahead and try to tinker around on iJack Creator and see how you can create your own panel boards as well. Now, how can we use iJack for subjects that are not art? I can personally see this for remote learning, where you can attach a QR code to a specific portion of your module. So when your students take their device out, they scan the module with iJack. Again, it's a free app, and they can see something, maybe a lecture. It doesn't necessarily have to be an animation. It can simply be you discussing or you talking about the concept, or maybe attach a video. There are many, many ways to use AR, and many, many ways that it can help and enhance learning, especially now that we are all learning from home. There are very many other AR applications, and one that might suit you best. If you are an iPad user, check out Reality Composer. It is an AR app that will allow you to create an interactive AR playground by creating and bringing in different assets that you can find online, or even something that you can create yourself. In closing, Tim Sweeney says, augmented reality will change the world more than any other technology. I've seen this in my classroom. My students were eager to draw, eager to animate, with little efforts from me asking them to do it. I hope that by the end of this webinar workshop, you will download some of these apps, explore them, and be as excited as I am about augmented reality. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. God bless you, and I'll see you at the Q&A.
All right, that was a very interesting, again, mind blown. Joyce really had shared her passion about art and AR technology. I'm pretty sure you have a lot, and we're very much interested to see all the comments. They're just coming in and they're just piling up, and we're very happy. Like you, we were interested and we were amazed. We were at awe, really, with what Joyce has shared. So I think the fun part really is, well, thank you, Joyce, first for sharing. That was a very interesting, and not just interesting. We've learned a lot about AR. There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of comments coming in. We hope to pick them up as you keep on sending us your thoughts. But for now, let me just bring in our two amazing speakers who will be chatting with us, answering your thoughts and questions right now. Let me see. Joyce Zerda. Is Joyce Zerda with us already?
Hi, Jim.
All right. So Joyce is with us. Lea. Is Lea with us?
Hi,
Jim.
Hi,
Hi,
Lea.
Joyce.
Lea, can you hear us?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Lea might need
Hello.
to. Is she here? All right,
Yeah, Leah's
then.
here.
Hello.
We are very excited to talk to or to discuss things with Joyce and Lea. Just to introduce them, we have a team. So we have partner teachers right now. They're the first partner teachers of Tagpros. And aside from leading webinar workshops, they are also creating their online courses and workshop for students, for K to 12 students. So for example, Lea was talking about coding, learning design, this user design. Lea is actually creating a course on creating websites for students. Joyce is such very good with the arts. So a while ago, she shared about art, visual arts. She's also a singer. She loves singing and she loves creating music. So she also has a course for our students on creating their own covers for their songs or pop songs that they love. And all those will be launched later this year, like around August or July. But yeah, they are our pioneers. So together with John Paul, together with Luis last week, Joyce and Lea are Tagpros pioneers. Very good, experts on their own field. All right, let's have the discussion rolling. I will start with one question to Lea, and Lea will be sharing a lot of her work. Lea, first, why
I
coding?
feel tense. Why coding?
Why coding?
I feel tense.
Lea,
Yeah.
Lea has actually done some work, not just with in a regular class. I hope Lea will be able to share. But
Yeah, of course.
why coding?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that one in one of my slides that I regularly teach PWDs coding or how to create websites. So why coding? So again, let me just reiterate or repeat what I mentioned in I think that's the fifth slide. I think coding is considered as the most important skills of today, considering the evolution of jobs. So jobs are evolving and many jobs are gearing towards IT. So we really need to prepare our future kids to become IT leaders, programmers, and developers. That's it.
All right,
So
very
this
straight.
advocacy of mine is actually a way of preparing our students for their future jobs.
if you have heard a while ago, and I just want to emphasize this, some people are saying, "Oh, coding is difficult. Coding is not for me." Well, everyone's being invited to become a
Yeah.
coder, yeah, a programmer. But Lea teaches deaf students.
Yeah.
That the deaf
Yeah.
students are doing their coding exercises, creating their websites along with Lea. So yeah, I think that should be an inspiration
Yeah.
for all of us. Thank you, Lea. Moving on to Joyce. Joyce, someone says, "Can you do a sample of your song?" Just kidding. I'm just kidding. But
Maybe you should come back for our next one, for our next session.
yeah, you should enroll in her course with Tagpros. Joyce is live all the way in Cebu City right now, and she's here with us. Um, First question, Joyce. Very much about your presentation. AR could be very challenging, right? Can you give us some more details? Like, for example, how do we use it in other subjects?
Okay, so earlier I did talk about certain apps that were good for math, for PE, but basically AR, because of its kinesthetic and very visual form of teaching, you don't really need to teach a lot because the students actually have to experience the learning, which is something I feel the learners of this century kind of need. They're not the type to want to. I know. I wish everybody was a reader. I wasn't much of a reader. I really learned do by doing, by watching. So with augmented reality, like for example, in science, it's so easy. It's so easy to think of a lesson for augmented reality and science. But did you know that augmented reality also fits with coding? I think Leah knows this. Some teachers, what they do is they put actions onto the assets they put on augmented reality. Simple things like 3 steps forward and a move right. So you really can use it anywhere. You just have to unlock your creativity and not be afraid to fail. You'll eventually get it right.
Thanks, Joyce. I love the emphasis. Really, if you look at what Joyce and Leia presented a while ago, they showed us some ways on how to enhance what we have right now. Like, gone are the days when students use technology just to sit down and type their essay, right? If you're doing
Yeah.
that, that's very good.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we want them to do. But Leia and Joyce is showing us that as teachers, we can improve the way we design our lesson when we listen to what our students like to do or their needs in the classroom, right? So like creativity, making use of creativity. And Leia, a while ago, I was mind blown with LXD. LXD, it was my first time to really look at it, but I love the emphasis on knowing your student,
Yes.
knowing your student so that you can define better experience. Leia, that leads me to my question. Um, how should teachers know their students? Because
Okay,
it's
so
the first step, right? So what
so
are your tips?
actually, okay, so I actually have like PWDs, right? I mean PWD students. So ages from like 13 to 40s. So it's so what you need to do is just at the first, I mean during the first meeting, you have to establish like your you have to be very sincere with your intention on why you teach them. That's the first thing that you need to do. You have to be very sincere with your intention to teach them. Second is, of course, you have to know them. Okay, the self-introduction works. Okay, you have to know their profile. You have to know their background, their interests, what they're good at. Okay, for example, I think I saw some questions about teaching kids. Okay, actually teaching, I started teaching, for the information of everyone, I started teaching way back in 1990 or 2000, teaching preschoolers. Preschoolers. Okay, so preschoolers, just imagine, so I'm teaching preschools also. So it's just a matter of knowing your users, what they want. Of course, if you're teaching kids, you have to adjust your lessons based on the, ano ba gusto ng kids natin ngayon. They want colorful, they want big font sizes, they want games, they're interested with your storytelling, with your quizzes and etc. So it's just a matter of knowing what they want or what they need. Okay, so that's it.
Yeah, and that's very interesting because Lea's answer is actually the first job of the teacher.
Yes.
You really have to know your students. If
Yes.
I were your student and you don't really know me, I would really, really feel bad because like how can you make me learn if you don't know me at first? Like relationship building,
Yes.
right? So
Yes, that's
thank
true.
you,
You just need to be very sincere with your intentions or what on why you're doing like on why you are teaching them, especially with
right?
coding, especially teaching them
Yeah.
coding.
Yes, and in general, Lea's message to us is, gone are the days when we design a lesson for all students. We
Yes,
talk about
that is true also.
personalized learning, we talk about
Mhm.
differentiated learning, and Leia is telling us that so that you will have a good design of those learning experiences, you have to know your students' abilities, frustrations, needs. Wonderful, wonderful answer, Leia. Joyce. Joyce has really
Yes, sir.
she stirred the pot really by presenting AR. I've been using a by the way, just a disclaimer. Um, Joyce and Leia were friends. We belong to a community of edtech, and we've been working with each other. That's why we know we know the passion of each other. And I know that Joyce has been really working with AR. Personally, I use AR in classes also, and in Pokemon Go. So I play that. I still play that until now. But Leia, one of our participants, Joyce, one of our participants mentioned about negative effects, like, effect on health, on vision, dependent. Maybe Leia could also talk about this because we are advocating for technology education, also dependent on devices. So let's split them one by one, and maybe Joyce could answer us relate with something
Okay.
about the negative effects. Joyce,
Okay.
Joyce, can
Hello. Can
you?
you hear me? I seem
Yes,
to
Yeah.
we can hear
have
you.
Yes, sir.
some connection. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So negative
Yes, Joyce.
effects. I think I will allow me to divide it in as a teacher and also divide it for the learners. So if can you still hear me? I'm not sure. I don't see anything on my screen right now.
We can hear you,
We
Joyce,
can hear
but
you.
I think your video is stuck. I think Joyce is having connection issues. Joyce, all right. There, I think our team will message Joyce and follow up with her. Let's go to AR effects, negative effects. Of course, we know that.
Mhm.
Let me just expand that further, right? Um, Leia and I work with devices, with education
Mhm.
technology. Leia, what can you say about negative effects?
Sorry.
I'm
Oh,
actually an
again.
advocate of technology. You know that, and my
Oh,
field of
sorry.
work is actually into
All right,
web development also.
Can you hear
Uh,
me? Can you hear
Leia.
me?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you now.
Okay,
Yeah, we can
okay.
hear.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry about
Joyce.
that earlier. So negative effects, Jim. I heard your question. I'm not sure if I'm going to answer this correctly, but let me talk about negative effects or the negative things about AR. With regards to effects, maybe more for learners. So let me start with the teachers. Maybe how to start with AR is going to be the biggest negative thing because we don't know where to go to learn about AR. Everything is a YouTube video, everything is reading. Not so much do we don't go to college for people to actually teach us AR, which I kind of wish. So an advocacy of mine is sana our teachers were prepared to use these kind of technologies to teach because Even if people think it's expensive, that's actually the biggest misconception. I only use free apps, and I only make sure that the apps that I ask my students to download are things that they don't have to pay for and that are available for them. Am I still here?
Yeah. Yes, Joyce. Continue.
All right, sorry. I see the circly thing. Now for the students. Okay, here's a good and a bad problem, teachers. Your students will be very easily addicted to augmented reality. I tell you, when I did my art club with AR, we called it the AR open close parenthesis T, so it's art. Um, they would quickly do other subjects to come back to my classroom to continue their artwork. It wasn't something that I had to require. In fact, I didn't even require it. They just wanted to come and complete it. It's addictive. But as a teacher, you need to be able to stir them towards the direction and limit them. You need to know when too much is too much and when to stop using it so that the students don't get lost or don't get distracted too much to forget to come back to the real lesson. So I think that's one of the negative challenges is how to bring them back, because we have such easily distracted learners, hyper focused when it comes to anything to do with technology. And last, people say that using virtual reality you're not supposed to use it. When Google Lens and Google Glasses, was that Google Glasses, Jim, was introduced to education, we were told not to allow learners to use it too long or else it will cause nausea. But with augmented reality, because the experience is not isolated, there's not so much when it comes to the negative effects. I'm not a health worker, so I don't really know. I don't study the effects of what technology does for us. But as for me, I've been using it for a while, sometimes too much, and I seem to be okay health wise. You just have to know when to limit and when to not use the technology.
Right. Thank you, Joyce. I think very wonderful insight from Joyce is that, striking the balance. You know what they said, the Chinese proverbs, anything too much, anything too less, it's not actually good. So
Yeah.
find what is balance, find what is appropriate. I mean, if let's just expand the conversation further, not just on AR apps. It's basically everything about technology. We're adults. And we even tell ourselves that sometimes it's too much, so we control ourselves. Health effects are negative health effects are there, but I'm not pretty quite sure the idea really is not to let students do AR all the time. I think that's one thing that we need to look into when we're using technology tools in the classroom. Technology tools in the classroom will only be used if it's deemed appropriate, right? What do we usually say? Pedagogy, 21st pedagogy before technology. Just because Lea, Joyce, and I are advocating about technology doesn't mean that from 7:30 to 4 p.m. everyone's just doing this, right? In the classroom. I think the biggest really idea is that teachers, Leia has mentioned a while ago, you need to know your students because you will be designing learning experiences for them. That means knowing what is good, what is appropriate for the use of technology. Yeah,
Jim, I hope you don't mind if I add. The nice thing I also see AR does is it causes a lot of people to reflect, because there's a limit to AR. You can't look at a augmented reality heart for so long. There's only so much you can do with going around and
Yeah.
pressing some buttons. When you put the device down, there's reflection. There are things. What can the
Mhm.
students ask about their experience? What can you ask the students? And that's what we forget about these technologies. Not limited to AR. The reflection is really a big factor of learning.
yeah.
I think Leah
If,
will agree with me too.
Yeah, of course.
if, if everyone can read what's on the screen right now, Only that using AR should have a parental guidance and set standards to the learners, right? We agree
Mhm.
with this, right? There should be set standards,
Yes.
learners.
Mhm.
There's also one comment here, also from Catherine. AR is just like bringing the outside world inside the platform we use in the online distance learning, and I agree. You
Mhm.
know what I do? I look at Google Maps and look for my home in the province because I've not been
Mhm.
I've been not been at home since December 2019. So it
Oh
it
no.
adds, right? It adds. It adds. Yeah, thank you, Joyce. Discipline, instilling values like what our commenters have or participants have been sharing to us. Let's go back to Leia. Uh,
I
there are a
think
lot
Joyce
of,
mentioned already, I mean, the negative effects of. Oh, it's not actually they're not actually negative effects, Joyce. I mean, those are some of
Yeah.
the challenges. But I think what I'm
That's
seeing in
it.
AR is I mean, in the end of us developers, like we in De La Salle College of St. Benilde, we train our students on how to create ARs. So we are the producers of your AR. So that would be the biggest challenge in teaching AR. Okay. So we need, of course, high-tech gadgets for us to build applications. And of course, we need like good people or good teachers to teach AR. So that's why I'm encouraging everyone, especially educators out there, to learn how to code because we are the best people to create teaching and to create learning experiences, especially teaching coding. Yeah.
yes, that's what we're advocating. We design our own so that
Yeah,
you
with
know
designer.
we design for our
Mm.
students. Leia, one question that we have here.
Mm.
Um, Coding for primary. Well, actually,
Yeah.
two related questions. Number one
I
is
was actually challenged by that one, but
yeah,
I just remember that I thought nursery pupils way back in 2000. I
yeah,
think it's still about we'll all go back to the same to the user experience. Know your users, know what they need, know what they want. So and I think your question would be leading about assessment, right? It's difficult to
to
like
attend.
to assess, of course, especially the coding output of the student. So what I am doing, especially for elementary I'm doing like right after they finish their particular activity, what they will be doing is to present that in class, and of course the class will be asking or will be doing some class grading activity for them to to yeah, that's it, something like that.
Leia, how about those students who doesn't show interest in coding? Should
Well,
we force
again,
should we force students to code?
it's for me, since I am very, you know what, I'm very vocal, I'm very like animated, I'm like very so I'm just like what I mentioned a while ago. You just need to be very sincere. If you will learn this, then you can do this, and I can help you to do that. I mean, I can help you to like create ideas or bring ideas to life, so something like that. I think the most important thing that you need to do is to inspire first your students that this is what I did, okay, and you can do this also. You have to like share with your students your love for the field, my love for coding, so that they will also love, I mean, what you're teaching them. So it's something like that. So remember the emotional buy-in that I mentioned. That is very important. I mean, your storytelling, your analogies, they are really important to get the interest of your learners. So so that's it.
Yeah. I think Leia's
Mm,
answer has perfectly hits the nail on the head. Um,
mm,
Teaching students, teaching those who doesn't want to. Sometimes, like it's like teaching math. I don't
mm,
like math, but I have to learn math
mm.
because my teacher said so, and I know that I trust teachers. I think right
Yeah.
now we don't see yet much about coding and
Mm,
everything, but if we look at where the
mm,
society is moving
mm,
towards, um, the highest. Well, it's not just for jobs in the future, but we're preparing them for something. And coding. Let me. Can we show it again? Someone from Paul Cruz. He mentions like, or she mentioned. I just realized about coding that we do not teach exactly coding itself, especially for the younger ones, but concepts taught in a very simple manner, such as
yes.
sequencing based on storytelling. That's literacy
Yes.
and the
Yeah.
composition, breaking down things and building it again like Legos. Legos are fun, but that's higher order thinking skill. That's analysis, by the way, at the current kindergarten level.
Mm.
Through this beginning
Mm.
step, they can get to master basic steps in coding. Wow.
I think I let's go back to the learning experience process. I mean, it's just how you are going to design experiences for these kids, from activating their knowledge to the evaluation process. So it's just like following.
Yeah.
I mean, following not religiously, but the sequence of the learning experience design.
Yeah. Um, Joyce, there are questions. Are the other apps, like the apps that you've presented, will they also work offline, or which of them would not work offline?
I think home court works offline. Active, some of them work offline. And iJack, if you've already previously scanned the code, it kind of saves a little
Mhm.
memory of the animation on. So if you have the code downloaded, you don't really need to be online for that. Only if it's the first time you're going to scan. So most of them most of them don't really need internet connection. It's only if you need to specifically download something, like for example, Jig Space. If you still need to download the assets, it'll take a while to download. But if you've opened it before, it might, just recall. I don't know how you call it, Leah, from memory, diba? Diba? There's some memory, diba? That
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
like,
So it's
additional
perfect
memory
that
to
Leah.
download.
Yeah, because I see her like nodding, and she's like, "Yeah, yeah. If it's already there, it won't." So
in your
you don't
cache,
really have.
Mm.
I'm sorry. What was that?
cache, Leia.
Yeah,
Cash. Yeah, yeah.
cache. It's web.
That's right.
I mean, the web, the caching.
But Jim, I started teaching AR with no internet connection. Like my journey really started with, let's try to use app with no internet. Let's try to use app that you don't really need a specific device. Like, what is something everyone has? And
Mm.
at that time, everybody had a cell phone. So we posted all the artworks in one of our school events, and
Mhm.
we asked the parents to take their device and download the app, because it was something that was easy for people to attain.
Mhm.
So I think teachers, like how Leah mentioned earlier, that we have to also understand our learners. We also need to understand our audience. And the audience of the learners are their parents, not so much other people. Right? I always think in mind, what do I do so the kids will be excited and the parents will be happy? Like, I feel like that's a thorough line of my story as a teacher, so that when I teach, I get excited for double feedback.
Mhm.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. How about Leia? Coding, coding or programming. What apps can they download softwares also offline and make use of
Of
it?
course, of course, my students are. I mean, before, I mean, we don't have like a web hosting or a web host where my students can upload their files locally. So we work locally. We just need a text editor for us to create websites. So it's just a text editor and a browser. So same with my students, my PWD students right now. They have a low tech. Some of them are just using their tablets, but they can still code. Okay, so it's just a matter of like using some low technologies or like text editors and of course a browser to create websites. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're really asking that question because in the Philippines right now we have different levels of
That is
access
true.
to
Mm.
technology and the
Mm.
internet. We're not even discussing access in terms of the
Mhm.
youth, which Leia has
Mm-mm.
been reminding us a while ago. Yeah, I think. Well, this we're like what I've said a while ago. We're having this discussion because Leia and Joyce are presenting frontiers, where some of you might not be there yet. Some of you are actually saying, "Oh, we have downloaded them. We're trying them." That's very
Mhm.
good. Whether it's for your personal use and
Mhm.
exploration, for future use in your classroom, or maybe for immediate use on Monday. That's very good. But for those who do not have yet access, we feel of course the the idea that we're hoping that someday we can use it, and that's also one of our advocacies. Really, it's to really push the education system in the Philippines towards further integration of ICT in the classroom. We're not just pushing AR, we're not just pushing coding, but we're basically pushing the basic ICT access in the country, and we do recognize that, right, Leia and Joyce?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, of
But
course.
Jim, like you're saying, what is the most accessible for the people now? Everybody has GCash. That means everyone can access a QR code. And so
Mm,
QR codes are the medium for right now. That's the reason why I stuck so much with iJack is because it lives in a QR code. And recently, iJack also. Well, I'm like super selling this app, no, but iJack
that's
also came up with an update. Now you don't really need to download the app anymore. If you just scan it, it will take you straight to a
Mm,
web viewer. So technology is going to just get better and better, and
yeah.
if we know how to properly use it, and we don't have to be too ambitious. I used to be so ambitious, Jim. I wanted to bring in sets and everything, pero alam mo, I came to a point where I'm making it hard for myself, and I
Mm,
forget about the student experience. So stick
mm,
to the simple and stick to the fun,
yeah.
and then just
Yeah.
master it.
How about Leia?
Me.
Last words, last words before we end.
Last words. I encourage everyone, of course, to learn coding. You start learning, you can. I mean, we are learning designers, and if you are to integrate us being coders and learning designers, then we can create a better future.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So just imagine our passion for teaching, our passion for like to create change makers or to create lifelong learners, and then just imagine our influence. So that's it.
Yeah. How about you, Leia? Sorry,
Joyce.
Joyce. Last words, parting words
Last
for
words.
our, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'd like to highly encourage you to keep on discovering. Now, there's always a
Mm,
good and a bad on any technology. When I was young, I was told not to put my cell phone beside my head because I might get brain cancer. But a lot of people keep doing that, and I'm not saying that it will never happen or that's not correct. That's a great possibility. But if we always move in fear, we never discover. So if you want to dive into AR, just be prepared to not get yourself too hooked. Jim, are you too hooked on Pokemon Go, or do you put a limit on it?
Yeah, I buy.
Like, diba? Pero
But that's my
like, are you
personal
so hooked?
choice. That's my personal adult.
personal.
Exactly. And so like I think right now when it comes to technology, it really is a discipline that starts in the home. And many people forget that we have to come back to training the children how to
Mm,
manage these devices. So digital citizenship, technological use, it happens in the home. If there's no one there to say that's enough or to cap it, then they'll just keep using it until they make themselves sick, right? But I'm saying
mm,
this as teachers, don't let that be a reason that you don't explore. Explore, because your job is to educate. Your job is not to worry about anything else, but how to make your lessons
yeah.
be good for your learners, be interesting for your learners. But if we put all of the factors, if we think all about it, how do we think about the learning experience? We're always gonna worry,
Mm,
and we need to really be brave. We need to.
yeah.
Yes, that's my last. Wala na, I'm going to do public speaking next.
I love the
Yeah.
final words
Yeah.
of Joyce, really.
Mm,
And of course, Leia, we're operating like right now. It's the pandemic. I'm just reminding because I got
mm,
my vaccination. But I just want to connect it with what's happening right now. We were all scared with how education would proceed.
mm,
At the beginning, we were scared with how would distance learning happen at this time around, but we did not operate out of fear. Of course, fear is there,
yeah.
but we operated with the idea that there are things that were uncovered yet, but we're taking risks. We're being courageous right now.
Mhm.
But part of being courageous and risk takers is the idea that we need also to get prepared. And we're not doing this as an individual, person. We have communities working with us. So while we want to explore in everything. We don't want to operate in fear. We just know that there are other people out there who might want to support us also. Just like at this time around in the pandemic, um, we are partnering with our parents at home because we're using gadgets, devices to deliver instruction. But we are partnering with parents, and we're actually teaching them that, hey, parents, time to bring back control and discipline, right, in your hands,
That's
because
right.
we need you, right? And even educators right now are being told, hey, you're not supposed to do online learning or ask your students to learn online from 7:30 to 4, because we're now very much aware of screen time and everything.
Yeah.
And just basically to end everything, we've been talking about AR, coding. Last week was even about music and creativity. I think the big idea here is technology tools are there as tools to help us further, but it doesn't mean that we educators or school leaders do not think about what's going to happen, right? We are decision makers, and part of decision making is looking into the context, like what Leah's mentioned, of every student, of every community, but also looking at the possible consequences. So we remind ourselves of our responsibility. We're not making choices or blindly, right? So we're
Yeah.
making these choices, we're looking at these things because we know that they can give us something good, but we are also, looking at how this would negatively, affect us and all our students, but we are ready to face those consequences and to answer those. Yeah, so much information, so much love coming from our participants right now. So we're very much thankful, Leah and Joyce. Um, there are questions coming here about the next steps, but before we go there, some people are asking also about the evaluation. Let's just before we give the evaluation out there, the form. Let's just give our heartfelt gratitude to our Tagpros pioneer, Leah and Joyce. Maybe my team could bring out our certificate. We have a
Oh,
certificate of recognition to Leah and Joyce, and we will be giving the certificate, sending the certificate to you. Um, there. So Miss Lea Abarentos, your certificate of appreciation is presented to you. And of course, for Joyce also, for your exceptional contribution as webinar workshop speakers to our session today. All right. So
thank
signed
you,
by me
Jan.
and by
Thank
the
you.
CEO, Christian Manansana. All right. So thank you, Leah. Thank you, Joyce, for being here with us, and to we're very much happy for your sharing. Some people are asking for your presentation. Don't worry about the presentation. We will be uploading their videos so that you can watch them all over again and learn from them in our Tag Pros social media account. So thank you so much. Stay safe, Leah and Joyce. God bless you
Bye,
both.
Thank you,
Jan. Thank you, Leah.
everyone. Bye,
Bye.
Jay. Thank you. Bye, Joyce. Bye. Thank you.
All right, so we are now on to the last parts of our session. Of course, heartfelt gratitude again to our sponsors, Globe, DepEd, 10, and Next Series. All right, so to end our forum, or to end our workshop right now, may I just call on our CEO. Our CEO is based all the way in the United States of America in US, and he has a short video message for everyone. So let's call on Mr. Christian Manansala, CEO and co-founder of Tagpros Education.
My name is Chris Manansala, founder and CEO of Tagpros. Since that day in March last year, we have experienced fear, confusion, frustration, grief, anxiety, and loss due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Families have had to make adjustments to their daily lives that they never could have imagined. Parents, grandparents, and siblings became co-teachers, setting up makeshift classrooms within their homes while continuing to work. Students pick up more hours at home, caught up on some needed sleep, and improve their digital skills, all while attending virtual classes. And of course, you, our beloved teachers, who until now are striving to convey lessons for your students while parenting your very own at home. You continue to find ways of improving your teaching capabilities online. Although these uncertain times have brought many challenges for everyone, they have also brought us gift, the gift of time. We teachers appreciate the essence of slowing down, taking the time to try to reflect while trying to understand how we can convey learning to our students. As a result of the pandemic, we have had the opportunity to take a pause, a deep breath, and really plan on how we can reach and engage children remotely, but with efficiency and efficacy. Here in Tagpros, our philosophy for learning is that teachers with an idea should have the ability to teach their passion to like-minded learners. Instead of offering online courses consisting of boring lectures and quizzes through generic and old-school approach, Tagpros gives students an immersive learning experience where they'll work with an expert teacher such as yourselves to learn academics, a hobby, or a new subject. We're designing our platform to be friendly to teachers across all fields because we want our students to be able to enrich themselves in whatever topic they are passionate. Tagpros gives you a large amount of discretion to plan courses. Traditionally, teachers in majority of virtual schools, especially those who teach younger grades, have control over how they administer content and establish a set of topics each student should master. On the contrary, here you can decide what students should learn on their own and craft an immersive, passion-based approach on how you perceive students would best be able to master the course. So take the lessons that you've learned on your webinar series, not just in this pandemic, but throughout your career. Let them guide you, inspire you, and remind you that we are all for the future of our generation, our students. Please be safe, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish you all the best. Hope to collaborate with you here in Tagpros. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Chris, all the way from the US for those encouraging words. Now, let me just finish our live session today. A few reminders. Number one, of course, this is what we're waiting for. If you want to look for the evaluation form, please visit our website. This is www.tagpros.org. if you look at our website, the first thing that you will be able to see is none other than the evaluation form, the link to the evaluation form. So what we want you to do right now is to make sure that you look at Save Our website, www.tagpros.org. The evaluation form is there. A few reminders also, again, 7 lucky participants from this session will be, we will pick 7 lucky participants to win 500 GCash. Each lucky participant will be getting 500 GCash credits or prize courtesy of our partner Globe Telecommunications. All right, so some of you are asking again for the evaluation link. It's on the screen. You have to go to tagpros.org for the evaluation. All right, so please make sure that you go to that. Some of you are asking, what about our certificate? Again, your certificate will be sent within the month. That means we are processing them, and it will be sent via the email address that you've used for the evaluation. All right, or in the evaluation form. Again, thank you so much for staying with us, and we're very much happy for your participation, and we hope that you continue to be part of our webinar series. If you look at the comment section, we will be having our next webinar series. Let me just share my screen so that you'll be able to look at our next topic on Saturday. Or on ours on June 19, let me just share my screen so that you'll know what you'll be looking forward to. All right. Well, it's hanging. I hope my screen is showing it. Yeah, right. Okay, so let me share my screen. For June 19, 2021, we will continue our discussion on coding and creativity, but we will be combining coding and literacy for next week. So our speaker will be Mr. Dominic Salle, and he will be teaching us about using online simulation tools to learn robotics. And then, of course, Nico Foss, one of our Tagpros pioneer, will be also sharing to us his expertise on teaching Filipino. How do we encourage students right now to study or make learning Filipino seriously? All right, so let us show the screen again. So that is Mr. Nico Foss. Mr. Foss will be showing or sharing his expertise on motivating students to learn Filipino in online learning. And then again, Mr. Dominic Salle next week will be sharing his expertise on coding using online simulation tools to learn computer programming and robotics. Again, evaluation is shown in your screen right now. So please don't forget to answer the evaluation form. Join our GCash raffle by adding your GCash account and wait for the announcement next session. So again, thank you so much. This ends our session, and we pray that you are healthy and safe at this time as we continue to face the pandemic. So thank you, everyone. Goodbye, and see you next week.